Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The Todd-Cast is filmed before a live feline audience. Another night, and here we are all again, back to do yet another Todd-Cast with Alyce and Kris and me, and I don't know how well it's going to go tonight because my energy level's way down.
We had an adventure today.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of. I'm not really sure what our adventure really was all about, other than the fact I'm going to get a new phone.
We got him out of the house for a little while.
Yeah, I'm getting a new phone. I'm getting a new phone because my phone that I've had now, I've had the same model for the last 4.5 years.
It belongs in the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
Next to Kermit the Frog.
And error message here. Right next to Kermit the Frog. Oh, that's sad. That is so sad.
Dorothy's slippers.
That is so sad. Oh my. Yeah.
Technology moves fast, Chuck.
Okay.
All you have to do is hold up your phone, and my phone doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next thing. All you have to do is my phone doesn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it doesn't do that. And then, but then you could also, with the other thing, flip your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the way, and it don't do that either.
Well, you'll have fun resetting that up and finding new.
Yeah. Welcome to the new decade.
New like ringtones and all sorts of fun stuff.
With my new phone.
Ooh.
A few moments later.
Yeah. So, yeah, tonight I'm playing with sound effects. I don't care. Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about Northwestern Colorado. We are going to be going all the way from Estes Park, all the way west, going into Dinosaur National Monument. And we're going to be talking about basically from the Wyoming border down almost to I-70.
Okay.
Almost. Not quite, though. We're going to try and stay in that upper band up in there. The reason, for me, there's a lot of fun things up there.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people come from all over the world to go to the Stanley Hotel.
Well, there's the and Steamboat Springs.
Steamboat Springs,
yes. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot there for those folks who like to throw themselves down mountains with boards strapped to their feet. Yeah, I was going to say, tonight's episode,
Yes.
It's, we're touching it.
You're like vibrating with excitement.
I know. Kris is all about it. She's ready.
Let's go, Cookie Puss.
I mean, she's ready. But
I mean,
but also for me, this is again, we live in such a geologically rich state that there's so much going on here with rocks and how rocks are colliding with each other and the uplift and how molten rock is coming up from the crust, from under the crust of the earth, and how sediment has started to squish things, and then you see the lots of the uplift and the pressures, and you start to see a lot of rock getting pushed up, and you can see the curves. And in the thumbnail of this particular video is, I believe it's Green River in Dinosaur National Monument, and you can see that curve of the stresses that that rock was under. It is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it's ancient rock. It's beautiful. Just beautiful. Anyway, I digress. So tonight, we're going to be starting in one of our favorite towns.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is a beautiful little spot called Estes Park.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be continuing on from Estes Park through Rocky Mountain National Park, then hitting the town of Grand Lake, which is very important
It's
and
another favorite town.
very special for the
Yes.
three of us as well. We will be also going by Granby, because you can't really talk about Grand Lake and not talk about Granby.
They're kind of the same.
Yeah.
One and the same.
Because you got Grand Lake, Shadow Mountain Reservoir, and Granby Reservoir.
Mhm.
You know, they're important.
And they're all connected, so
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And they're deep
deep.
lakes.
Freezing cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Let's
They're not
see.
swimming ponds. They're freezing cold.
Even though there is a wading or swim beach at Grand Lake.
There is
Yeah, I
for
know.
polar bears.
I don't do it.
I
Like,
know.
I'll get my feet wet.
Right. The
It's so cold.
there are stories from when we were younger of Alice's lips actually turning blue.
I can't help it.
Yeah, it's just
I
that's
just can't help it.
Younger.
So it is what I know.
Well, I know,
all
I
the
know.
time. What do we?
I know.
We've
I
seen
just
that
can't
several
help it.
times.
I know. Anyway, after Granby, if you go east on US 40, you get to Tabernash, Fraser, and Winter Park. And again, that's where we'll have Kris do her thing. If you go west on US 40, you get to Hot Sulphur Springs, which is the county seat of Grand County.
Mhm.
And it was somewhat important. It was one of the first resort areas in that area.
Mhm.
After that, we go to Kremling.
Kremling has some great places to hit the Colorado River to whitewater raft out of.
Nice.
I've
Exactly.
done that
Yeah.
several times. It's amazing.
Which is why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And I knew that
The
you
Gore
had that.
Canyon and the lower Gore and the upper Gore, they're great.
I knew you had that experience.
Yes.
That's why I put that
Amazing.
there. Let's see. After Kremling was going to be Steamboat
Mhm.
Springs again.
Yay.
And I get kind of excited about that too, because it's more hot springs.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hayden, I know very little about.
I have a little bit. My best friend is from Steamboat, and I taught at a school in Hayden, so been
Oh,
there.
right on.
So a
Excellent.
little bit of
Excellent.
experience through there.
After Hayden is Craig.
Mhm.
I know nothing about Craig. I know nothing about Craig, Colorado.
Apparently, it's where my birth mother is from.
Ah,
I
okay.
didn't know that.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
We're not supposed to know that.
Oh.
Ew.
Shh.
Nobody say anything.
It's a secret. It's a secret. Anyway, after Craig, Colorado is Dinosaur, Colorado. Yes, there is a town named Dinosaur, Colorado. I think that is fantastic, and it's vitally important, because when you become an adult, nobody asks what your favorite dinosaur is anymore. And
Stegosaurus,
there we go. There we go. Mine's still Triceratops. Still.
cats too.
Yeah.
Pink dinosaur.
Pink dinosaur. Yes, the pink.
We're thinking back to when she was about 3, and that was what she wanted to be for Halloween, and nobody had pink dinosaur costumes, so we eventually ran one to Earth, and she wore it for about 4 years. It became shorts. So she outgrew it.
Do we have a digital picture of that somewhere?
Oh, maybe? I don't know.
I'm sorry, Kat. We may have to find it. If we do, great. It goes right here. If
Yay.
not, yeah, then, it's, yeah, right? Anyway,
Have to believe us that we had a pink dinosaur.
yeah, we had a pink dinosaur, and if we don't find it, you win.
Cat wins.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, moving on. Let's go ahead and start in Estes Park.
Okie dokie.
Let's see. Estes Park, I'm going to do a quick rundown of history. There was evidence of people living in Estes Park as early as 12,000 years ago. It was named after a Kentucky miner named Joel Estes. He moved his family there in 1860, so not very far after the major kickoff of the Colorado Gold Rush.
Mm-hmm.
The town was named Estes Park in 1864. Speaking of,
There you go.
and that's when tourism began. It was named in Estes Park by a newspaper mogul, and I lost his name.
The Denver Post guy?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't
We'll
remember.
look it up and throw it in there.
Yeah, we'll put it here. Again, I should know, but because I read it like 2 days ago. Anyway, tourism began after 1864. It was a big deal. It was a nice little town. It was settled primarily by Irish folk, Irish and Scottish folk. That's why you see a very heavy Celtic influence.
To this day.
Thus the Scottish
Yeah,
Highland
Highland
Festival.
Games.
Longs Peak Scottish
Always
Games.
up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. The Longs Peak Highland Games are always up there. I have not participated in the Highland Games
I've never been there.
officially.
But we participated as volunteers.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we have. It's a lot of fun.
Gorgeous setting on the lake up there.
I did learn to throw caber.
Yeah.
I did learn to throw the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
I did learn to throw the sheath, and that's a lot of fun. Other than that, it was rock throwing. It basically big heavy things and try to throw them far.
Or high. Because the
Or
stone
up
throw
high.
that I did was up over a bar.
Oh, that was grab it and yank it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, that
had fun with
one.
that.
Yeah, I know you had a great time with that.
Mhm.
I couldn't do it because I scared myself. I afraid that I wouldn't get out of the way, or it would lay in too far forward and
Block somebody else.
either that or kill me.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, we digress. We digress.
I mean, it is a Scottish Games after all.
Oh yeah. Let's see. And F.O. Stanley, the guy or one of the brothers of the Stanley steamer, came and established the Stanley Hotel in 1909. Yes, that's the hotel that's inspired Stephen King's novel.
The Shining.
Yes, the Shinin.
Okay, Bart.
Sorry, the Simpsons episode affected me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It was so good. Such a good.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
no.
Treehouse of Horror was fantastic.
Yeah.
Estes Park is affectionately known as the Eastern Gate of the Rocky Mountain National Park because it, in fact, is the Eastern Gate of the Rocky Mountain National Park. Yes. So that's about all I have right there for Estes Park because of history. Let's talk about it.
They have one of the best pizza joints
I
in the
was
whole entire
just gonna
world.
say that.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
You can't go to both.
You go to Estes
That's
Park.
right. That's right. That's
Do
right.
not even ask me the name of it. I just know where to go.
Yeah, and it's in a
I don't know it.
historic
building,
building because
Yeah.
it's
and
all
it's-
this old wood
And it's red.
yes,
And
Yeah.
you just,
Mhm.
when you smell pizza, you go in.
It's been there for decades.
It's so
right next to the
good.
like grub place where you can get good steak and burgers and stuff.
Oh, it's so good.
So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
right next door to each other, two
You just-
really
Exactly.
fantastic restaurants.
Exactly.
You got to get pizza, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, you have
I
to get
mean,
pizza there. You have to
there.
get pizza
you have
there.
to eat it there because
Yeah.
it's like
yeah, you do. Mhm.
the whole ambiance of the inside
Exactly.
and
But
the
yeah, I
old
mean-
arcade games. And it's so good.
I love it so much.
It's good. So I knew we would all three talk about
Oh
it.
my
but
Oh,
I was
yeah.
just like,
I
let's
Oh,
know.
yeah.
hit
Well,
it right there. You go for
Because every time we went there as a
Mhm.
family, I mean, even the last time when we went, Mom, Dad,
Yeah,
you,
you
Kat,
park and
Kris, and I, we
Yeah.
all went to there to have pizza.
pizza. Yeah.
of course.
We have
And then,
and then we go walk down to the moccasin store.
yes.
There's the Moccasin store. There's a really good leather shop on
And-
the corner.
and
Right.
then we get our fudge,
Oh,
you have
yes.
to get the
And our-
fudge
Yeah.
rock
and the
candy.
And the rock
saltwater
candy.
Well, for us it was saltwater taffy.
No, we
Yeah.
got rock candy.
And ice cream.
At one
and
of
ice cream.
yeah, at one of the 15 places.
I know.
Pick one.
In this
Yeah.
2.5 block rate.
You know, though, that Mountain Water makes some good candy.
really
Yes, it does.
Makes
It
good
does.
candy,
And but I mean,
so-
like every third store window, you see
And-
the taffy
yeah,
pull
the pow-
machine.
you know,
Yeah.
here's the other thing that you don't get if you're a native kid. Don't get a carved bear. No one.
No.
No,
Do not get a
no,
carved
don't
bear.
do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do that. I mean, that's
You
just
can-
weird.
You flaming neon lights yourself as a tourist if you have a carved bear in your car.
Well, there's
You're
that.
not from here.
Also, there's the rock shops.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you get
Yeah.
rocks all the time.
Yeah,
So
but
that's not even.
every other place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Not so much
Candy?
anymore, but yes.
candy, fudge, rocks,
Ice
candy, ice cream, candy, fudge, rocks, ice cream.
Because
So,
And
the-
t-shirts.
and a t-shirt store.
there was a huge flood that hit
Yes.
Colorado Springs about 10
Not
years
Colorado
ago?
Springs.
I'm sorry. Estes Park.
Estes, yeah. 2014.
Yes. Yeah, so
2014.
10 years ago.
Mhm.
And it took out like the
All the way to Lyons.
The lovely thing about Estes is that the river runs through there's just, it's very scenic. Like you're at these restaurants and you can go sit on the back porch and the river is right there. However,
Beautiful. Big Thompson.
it's the Big Thompson River and it has flooded a couple of times in my lifetime. And this time, not that long ago, it hit Estes pretty badly and flooded out a lot of this main tourist area that we are talking about. And the rock shop that you and I both love, I think closed for good because of that.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, that and also, I mean, lately the COVID didn't help anything.
And then COVID didn't help anything. Exactly. So, there've been a little bit of rough time there, but it's come back. It bounces back. It just takes a while.
That was one of the other things that I read in the history thing is that Estes has always been known for the town that just doesn't quit.
And it's always changing too. Because
it is.
I mean, if it's a blizzard, if it's a flood, if it's something like that, they always have, things have to be rebuilt and put back together.
Exactly.
So.
Yep, exactly. And
sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything else.
I was just going to say during that flood, Estes was completely cut off from civilization.
Yeah,
because all of the roads were washed out.
Yeah, you had to get to it from behind.
Yeah, so you had to go all the way.
Yeah, all the way from Kremling and back up and around.
Right.
And,
so rather than a 40-minute drive into Denver, it's a 4-hour drive.
Well, going back from Kremling, Granby, Grand Lake, and then taking
over Trail Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in the winter though.
No, because Trail Ridge is closed.
Yeah, Trail Ridge is only open for 3 months. So then
you've got to go.
Yeah.
Go like north.
You got to go Fort Collins and then back down.
Well, you couldn't get to Fort Collins either, so you had to go up to Laramie and then back over.
Yeah, you had to go back up into Wyoming and then come back down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they kept on going, and And one year we went on our anniversary. We went up there.
Yep.
And had there was a wonderful restaurant. It was up in the hill a little bit.
Oh, when we went with Richard and Kat. Yeah.
And I can't remember. It was in a hotel, I think.
Something Owls.
That's right.
Twin Owls or something.
Twin Owls.
Yeah, I think.
And it was
we'll
put it here. Steaks, and it was so good.
Yeah.
It was one of those memorable
It was game
meals.
meat. It was fantastic. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was
just a lovely setting and a lovely view. I mean, and very nice.
The thing is,
nice experience.
You could see that this was the clientele of Estes that sweated money.
Well, yes.
I mean, these
it was a special occasion.
Oh yeah,
it was an anniversary.
Oh yeah,
but yes, it was.
It was fantastic.
Of course, yeah. So there were the Stanleys and the wealthy people there.
Oh yeah,
and then you get more into town, and it's the regular folks who ran the mines and worked in the mines, and the other industry that was up there was mainly mining early on.
Yeah,
and big time farmers and ranchers up there. There were a lot of cattle ranches up there, big dairy farms.
Oh yeah.
That's where a lot of the people who settled in there in the 1900s, in the early 1900s, they were getting and homesteading a lot of land.
That's true.
To get
just
a lot
on the
of cow, beef cow and dairy cow,
like south of Estes. There a bit.
Up into the park, actually.
Oh, up into the park. Okay.
Yeah. Part of my...
If you
right.
if you do take the time, or if you're here in Denver around the time in January to be able to go to the Colorado or to the National Western Stock Show. I almost claimed it purely for Colorado. Anyway, you'll see, and if you do walk down where the ranchers have their show cows
in the barns,
if they have the show cattle down in the barns, you'll see a lot of tags that say Estes Park.
It's true.
So
and Kremling and
Craig is actually a big cow town.
And all those towns that we mentioned down south as well. You'll see a lot of those tags.
Yep. Well, and Steamboat, as I did my homework about Steamboat, it's big ranch time.
Yeah. So that part of the country is good for animals and ranch animals and grazers. Southern Colorado is not so hot for it.
Not so hard, but
You go up north.
there are those pockets like we discussed last time. Yeah.
But the Northern Colorado was big time. That's where you have a lot, why the bison are such a big restoration project up there in that northern section, in that northern corner of Colorado.
Right.
Because you got all of that great grazing land.
You got the great grazing land that extends over into Wyoming. So Wyoming is actually partnering with Colorado to do that.
Yeah, CSU is heading that project.
There you go. See? Right back to it. All right. Oh, let's see. I dropped my notes already.
So something else to do in Estes Park?
Yes.
I like to do, actually, and we don't do it often enough, is the walk around the lake, the trail walk around the lake.
I've never done the trail walk.
Oh, it's so cool. And then
I've never done it.
One of the big things that Estes is known for are the herds of elk.
Man.
Just come in. But elk are excellent swimmers. And one of the cool things that you could do at Lake Estes is actually watch those herds of elk swim across the lake.
Wow.
Get out, shake it off, and then head into town to talk to the people.
Right.
So it's really a neat place to actually get some neat wildlife interactions, but there's really cool migratory birds. It's a big migratory bird stop.
Exactly.
So, and big fishing. It's a great fishing lake. You can kayak on it. You can stand up paddleboard on it. It's cold.
It's very cold.
Do not expect it to be warm.
I mean, it's Mountain Lake. It's
Mountain Lakes. It's
we do this PSA almost every episode about Colorado water.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the amount of tourists who come up here, and having lived in Texas and my not getting used to that, you can walk into those lakes and streams and the ocean and it's bath water.
Right.
And those folks come here and thinking those big bodies of water are going to be the same, and they're actually not. And you can get so cold so quick, and it causes a lot of problems. So please, we say it all the time, but it's a matter of just being really aware of your surroundings, knowing that it is snow-fed rivers, and the highest temperature that those bodies of water are going to get is maybe 53 degrees.
Yeah, maybe.
If we're on a good day.
In the middle of July.
Yeah,
on a good day.
On really hot days. So
you're up at altitude, so it's just not.
It's really careful.
The ambient temperature is not nearly as warm as
really
down here.
Careful. Anyway, Lake Estes is awesome.
But
the other PSA that I wanted to bring up was, you just mentioned the gangs of elk. Okay, the roving gangs of elk.
They are like the sharks.
They kind of are.
Okay,
the sharks.
They own the town. Okay, let me just tell you, they own the town. Do not pet the prehistoric deer.
Don't touch any wildlife.
Okay,
but no,
you will lose that fight.
I mean, you could do it once.
Yeah, you can do it once. I mean, this is like, how every year the memes come out about the bison score against tourists in Yellowstone. Same story. Same story.
Well, and then time of year too, because if those males are in rut.
Like now.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Like it is, they can gore you and hurt you too.
I mean, they're after each other. So that kind of energy, and you hear the cracks and it's intense.
Your car will lose,
right?
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's
they're not small.
These animals, they're wild animals. Treat them as such.
Yeah.
Okay. These are not animatronics. These are not petting zoo animals.
They're not zoo. They're not raised with humans.
No,
not at all.
They'll hurt you.
They're gorgeous.
They'll hurt you.
They're beautiful and they're cool.
And I love them.
Yeah.
Use the Zoom. Don't try and get close yourself.
Well, they get to take over the town, what you were saying, Chuck. And that, like traffic stops because they just lay down in the middle of the road.
Yes. And it's all the way from the gateway, Rocky Mountain National Park, all the way to the city limits or town limits.
Lions even.
Yeah, down to Lions, where elk will be there. Okay, just
always.
And if you're not, and then if you're not careful, you don't notice the car that stopped for the elk as you come whipping around a blind curve, and suddenly there's all this traffic that's stopped, and it's just because the elk's.
And then all of a sudden, you get to make some brand new friends.
Yeah, with your insurance agent as well. So don't do that.
Yeah,
just be cautious there.
Pay attention. Be impatient. Watch yourself. This is a place also where the pace is a little slower.
Yeah. It is.
The pace is a little slower.
You're up there on a vacation, so take a deep breath.
Because there's no oxygen.
Well, okay, take 2 deep breaths and just enjoy it. Enjoy the scenery. Don't try and just be going from point A to point B, because half of the fun of being up in the mountains is just watching the scenery as you're going. And I know, because I often am the driver in these situations, it's hard as the driver to be able to do that. But if you slow down a little bit, you can. Very a little bit. Or pull over,
stop,
and take some pictures. And
yes,
there's plenty of pullouts to do stuff.
And
like
that's
that.
the other thing. Pull over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do not stop in the middle of the lane. Do not stop in the middle of the road, because
no, if the elk are in the road, you got to stop.
Well, yeah.
But if they're on the side of the road, don't stop in the middle of the road to look at the elk on the side of the road. Everyone will get grumpy.
Well, a case in point, Georgetown. Right around Georgetown, up on the northern side of the highway in Georgetown, is where all the bighorn sheep like to come down.
They do.
I think that's fantastic, and I think it's wonderful. But every tourist tries to stop in the middle of the road to take pictures of the bighorn sheep.
Yeah.
That's please don't do this. Please don't do this.
Dangerous for everyone involved.
Next thing you know, you got somebody coming through there about 65 miles per hour and does not see you. Mm-hmm. Or looks up or finally looks back down because they were looking at the bighorns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So take it easy. Enjoy the drive. Enjoy the scenery. The other thing that's in Estes, well, there are 2. Gosh, I keep doing that tonight.
Yep.
You can run the counter.
Not this time. Not this time.
You can. There are 2 YMCA camps up there.
Yes.
And both of them allow you to rent their facilities when it's not the middle of summer when they're doing their thing. But I've been up there for, like, our Girl Scout troop went up there for a weekend getaway, and it's a really nice place to stay that's not as expensive as some of the hotels, and is another option up there. There are also some cabins along just on the way, like once you get out of town of Estes before you get to Rocky Mountain National Park. So
we did a family vacation at the Rocky Mountain.
Oh, okay.
YMCA of the Rockies. And it was really great. And then I've done also Snow Mountain Ranch, which is the other one on as you go from Winter Park into Grand Lake, that's where Snow Mountain Ranch is at. Mm-hmm. And it's also beautiful on top of a mountain. So both of them are really fantastic.
Yeah. So
YMCA's good stuff.
Yeah, I was going to, and I brought those up simply because there are alternatives to staying at like the Stanley, right?
Or
this Owl.
And super affordable.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, super affordable.
So
yeah. So just a note on the Twin Owls.
Yeah.
It's named after a rock formation that's over the top of Estes Park.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Twin Owls. So anyway, now that we've gone through Estes
and there's an amazing escape room at Estes Park that our daughter works at occasionally.
We are not paid for this.
Not sponsored.
We're not sponsored at all. We are not paid for this. So there you go, Kat.
There you are.
Anyway, now that we've gone through Estes, so the brew pub, brewery, the Estes Park Brewery.
Is it still there?
Yes.
Alrighty then.
Yes, Estes Park Brewery. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Anyway, now that we've mentioned pretty much everything, and now that we're on that side of Estes, because that's the direction that we need to go, is the breweries over there, and then the putt-putt golf is over there. and
the zip lines.
And then the zip lines are over there, and the climb towers and all the weird stuff is over there.
The amusement park.
Yeah, you keep on going on that road, and that will take you to Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah.
Okay, Alyce.
Here we go. So Rocky Mountain National Park was actually established in 1915, about 2 or 3 months-ish after the National Park Act was enacted by Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was actually the sitting president that signed that into action, where Rocky Mountain National Park became, at that point, probably the 3rd largest, if I recall.
I don't know.
Yellowstone was first. Anyway, one of the reasons that Rocky Mountain National Park became a big push for enactment was Teddy Roosevelt and John Muir were in the area. And John Muir's big thing also was pushing and making sure we preserved the beautiful places. But they got somebody who was kind of a big deal in the world of naturalists and teaching about nature. Enos Mills. Enos Mills is a big name in that he actually lived in Estes Park. He was a Coloradoan, and he was part of that crew that went in and actually got the park to become a national park. He was also one of the folks who got in there and started putting the park rangers into places where they could interact with the public and actually teach about the place and talk about leaving no trace and getting that to be leaving it better than you found it. All of those wonderful principles that we talk about as naturalists, and using natural spaces, knowing it's not your house, it's somebody else's house, and treating it better and treating it best. So that's how the park actually was enacted. It does cover about 415 square miles. Originally, the first part of that whole enactment was over 3,000 square miles.
Wow.
But because of the farmers and ranchers up there and the whole part about once it's a national park, it's public land, no more private land. You can't have ranchers and farmers on public lands. So that was one of the compromises, is to shrink it down to the 415 square miles that it is actually now. The entrance off of Estes Park hits one of the first visitor centers that you get to, which is Beaver Meadow. And Beaver Meadow Nature Center was actually designed by the Frank Lloyd Wright Architectural School out of Phoenix, Arizona. Now that kind of is a big deal to us because Frank Lloyd Wright's I love his stuff. And Kris and I actually went to his house in Forest Hills, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
So and when you see it, you're like, this is a Frank Lloyd Wright building.
Yeah.
Like all of it is that mid-century modern, all of those angles and lines. It is a beautiful, beautiful visitor center. It's one of my favorites. They have kind of really neat walk around places,
definitely worth a stop.
Definitely. We always would stop. It was one of those things where you get in the park. Now, one of the things to note before I get in a little more history and a little more things to note, nowadays, the park sees over 4 million visitors a year.
Wow.
Now. And because of that, you actually have to have a reservation and timed entry. If you don't get a reservation and timed entry, your chances of getting in there are pretty much slim to none. So I highly recommend, if you are coming here, you want to go through Estes Park, you immediately get your reservation for getting into Rocky Mountain National Park, especially through the Beaver Meadow section. There are a few days a year where all national parks are free. One of them is the anniversary of the National Park Act being enacted. Next year, it'll be 110 years old.
Wow.
So Rocky Mountain National Park will be 110 years old next year. So it's kind of something that's being worked towards and working toward and getting that. So 4th of July is one of the days that everybody can go in for free. So that's a couple of times to think about, but there is a fee to go into the national park system. You can get a year pass, you can get a lifetime pass, just research all of that on the websites, but definitely need a reservation to get in there. I also highly recommend doing this just because of Enos Mills being part of the whole thing and really putting forward that high idea of rangers being interpreters and teachers and stewards of the land that way, is if there are any keeper talks, if there are any ranger talks at the visitor centers or even the campgrounds that you stay at, go to those. They're wealth of information.
I have
and
to
amazing
agree with you
stuff.
completely.
And you get to learn about the animals that you're going to be camping with. You get to learn about the ecology of the space. You get to learn about how a lot of the mountains were formed. Like, there's a lot of cool information that you can get at those ranger talks. Highly recommend those. So, and we can thank our friend Enos Mills and John Muir, and
they even do like nighttime sky.
They do sky stuff, especially if there's no
the
clouds,
meteor showers. Yeah,
really cool things. Rocky Mountain National Park is home to the highest paved road in the country at Trail Ridge.
Contiguous paved
road. Not a fan.
I love it.
I have a hard time getting there. It's a hard do for me.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of my fortitude to get up there. And
the first time I learned that was when we went up as a family, and at some point you pulled over and said, Kris, you get to drive.
I can only go so far. I can't do it. It's the thing. I cannot do it. And I just panic the whole time. The other thing too is that you are at 11,000 feet above sea level. It's very high up there. There's no oxygen. And
almost 12.
The asthma kid.
Oh yeah.
Done.
Oh yeah.
I go about 50 feet and I'm like, I'm gonna sit. I'm sitting right here.
See, one of my favorite parts of that of going up Trail Ridge is the Summit House. Okay, or the Alpine Visitor Center is like what they call it now.
Yeah,
but it was the Summit House when I was younger, and I'm sorry, but I always got myself something goofy, touristy, stupid at Summit House.
Carp bear?
No, the little leather pouch that said Colorado on it that held a flashlight.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay.
Some rocks.
Yeah.
A little bag of rocks.
Got more rocks.
Actually, I never bought the polished rocks.
My parents would never let us.
I got the geode from Cave of the Winds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trail Ridge is there. It was open pretty much about 3 months a year because the rest of the time
it's closing
got snow
this weekend,
on it.
In fact.
Yeah, it's got snow on it. And believe it or not, we've probably had we've probably had snow up there.
I think there's some.
Yeah, but
I think there's some.
There's inches.
It's probably melted since, but there was a cold week we had a few weeks ago.
So there's, you got to know that you are at the top of the earth. And the top of the earth is high and it snows even
in the summer.
So, it's just, it is definitely a must do, I guess, if you are wanting to do it and say you've done it. And if you can drive it, awesome.
The view is gorgeous.
Do not drive it as if you're driving down here.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Don't drive it like you're driving a highway. It is twisty and turny and there's nothing on either side of you. It's terrifying.
Yeah, you remember those old James Bond movies where they're driving on the roads in Switzerland and things like that, where they're coming down those mountain roads, and he's in his little Aston Martin and just tearing it up.
Yeah,
don't do that.
No,
because you'll end up like a bunch of those rusted out cars that you can see over on the sides.
Yeah, it's very
down
scary.
The hill,
long way down.
Now, being that high up, you are in backcountry. You are considered in wild territory. So there's things to see that are, you got to be careful of. Wildlife, this is their home, but they are high up. So you get to see some, there's pika up there. There's yellow-bellied marmots, tons of birds. You get to see even some of the mountain goats, the bighorn sheep. So you do have a lot of wildlife viewing and a lot of things to...
Tough, tall-eared squirrels that are really cute.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
the
little black squirrels. Yeah, they yell at you.
Jacobson squirrels
and throw pine cones at you.
Yeah.
Don't touch them.
No,
people feed them.
Yeah,
that's bad. We've already talked about that in previous episodes. Yep. But anyway, you are in backcountry. You are in wilderness. You are in spaces that the weather can turn in a hot second.
Yes,
it can be super sunny, and then you got some breeze. Clouds are coming in, and next thing you know, you are in a huge thunderstorm with lightning.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We've talked about that. So you just got to be very, very aware. There's a lot of things to know about backcountry. There's not a bathroom everywhere. Stop at those visitor centers. Stop at those spaces that have plumbing.
Exactly.
Whether you think you need to
or not, always do it.
And keep drinking your
water.
Yeah.
So
there's wear your sunscreen.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful space. And we're very privileged to have it in our state as one of the big national park systems that are there. As kids who get to have that in your backyard, we do go often, but it is beautiful spot. There's beautiful valleys in there, and the Colorado River jumps right through it, and it's a really neat space to be in and see some really cool stuff.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And no matter how many times we go, it's still breathtaking and awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
It's different, right? Every time you go,
drop into those valleys and you're sitting at the top and you just look down and the sun comes through and it's just,
Well, and one of the main 14ers of Colorado is in that park, Long's Peak.
Yeah.
14,200, I believe.
I think so.
And it's one of the more difficult to scale.
It's hard. That one's hard.
That's okay. You want to go to the peak?
Expert one.
Yeah, you want to go to the peak. That's mountaineering.
Yes.
Okay, that's not just a little rock climb like you're doing in El Dorado Canyon. That's not just a little rock climb like you're doing at the Monkey Traverse up on Flagstaff Mountain. Oh, no. This is climbing. This is serious. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
You have to have some training for it. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a beautiful space. And then, as you go from Estes through the park, you actually can drop into Grand Lake, which is a favorite of our family.
Yes, it is.
And I love it. And it's amazing. And we spent all of our childhood.
Well, pretty much.
All of our childhood going to Grand Lake.
A good chunk of it, yes.
At least once, if not twice a summer.
Yeah. Grand Lake it's got a deep history. Grand Lake at the beginning of its tourist days earned the moniker of the Riviera of the Rockies. The reason is because it's this little town they built on a lake. So it was the resort town.
And to mimic what they did in New York with the Adirondacks and all of that. They wanted to bring that kind of space to Colorado because those folks were coming from the east and they wanted something familiar. So, hey, let's build this.
Exactly. So
Grand Hotel sits right on
the town or the area of Grand Lake was discovered in about the mid 1800s before the gold rush in Colorado. Well, discovered by European hunters.
Inhabited.
Yeah. So it was the fur traders. And all those folks. So there's a lot of French fur traders, a lot of Spanish fur traders.
And it's nice and because it does sit in a valley, so you can understand why it kind of it's protected on all sides by mountains.
Oh, yeah.
There's a body of water, so it made a
and
good
some
sense
wetlands
and stop there. So it made some good sense. So
and some wetlands, hence the beaver trade.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's see, it was permanently settled in 1867 and established as a town or incorporated as a town in 1879. So within a decade, there it is. It was originally used as an outfitting and supply stop for mining towns. Because, they need someplace. They needed someplace.
Well, everybody, you have to go in and you don't live where you mine because where you mine is destructive.
Yeah.
So you have to have a town to go in there.
Exactly.
So.
And you got to have someplace to pick up more axes, shovels, picks, and more rail and all the fun metally bits that you need. It is also home to the deepest and largest natural lake in Colorado.
Yes, it's awesome.
It is beautiful, but it is deep.
It's deep. Yeah, it's got it looks like black water because it's so deep and the water's so cold it gives it that black.
Yeah.
But if it's a calm day, it's mirror. You have
it's almost a mirror
finish and it's so stunning.
It is gorgeous. Let's see, it's been a tourist destination since the 1880s. And it was sort of a tourist destination in concert with Estes Park.
Yeah. For the rich folks to come up to the mountains.
Exactly. There were two ways to get to it, of course. So naturally you've got that wonderful little ride from Denver up I-70, come up that way.
Go over Berthoud.
Yeah, go over Berthoud Pass and then come up
through Winter Park.
Come up US 40 and all that route. The reason that Trail Ridge Road exists is because they needed a road to get things from Estes
Park. Yeah.
So
they made a road.
Yeah. Let's see. It offers a lot of lodging right now. It also does. You can camp there. There's hiking. There's boating. There's fishing. It boasts some very excellently manicured snowmobile trails. Sure. I have no idea. I don't do the snowmobile thing, so.
No, I've done horseback riding out of it, and it's fantastic.
Oh, we have.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
That's cool.
Yeah. The horseback trails are amazing.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. There's varying lengths of where you can, or how long
you can ride.
Yeah. You can, it's just little day trips that you can go on that are, depending on how long, 2, 4, 6 hours. The longest one, I believe, actually takes you up into Rocky Mountain National Park, into the western side of Rocky Mountain. I believe. I don't know that for certain. But, I do the horseback trails.
That's cool.
Do the horseback trails.
That's really cool.
Okay. Do the horseback riding. It's so much fun.
And if you're a fisherman and you like fishing, drowning, bait.
Yeah.
It's a good place to do it.
Exactly.
Just drowning bait. Our family would always fish because our grandpa liked the backside of the lake where it was near the inlet, the Adams Falls inlet.
Yeah.
So we would always go to the backside and fish the canal is what he called it.
Yeah.
So we would go back there. It's anywhere along the lake, and especially those kind of fishing spaces. There's picnic tables. There's places to pop a tent, not necessarily night camping, but you can pop a tent for shade and comfort and spend a day, and it's awesome.
And that Adams Falls trailhead, that parking area,
yes,
that's where that moose came through.
Yes.
Okay, that's where because Dad and I were fishing at that boat ramp.
Yeah.
Over on the lake.
Yeah.
And that's where the moose came through. So yeah.
You get to see a lot of moose
to Estes Park, moose are to Grand Lake.
Yes.
Yes.
All the time.
In fact, one of the short little videos that I have at the beginning of this has a little female swimming in the water.
So that Adams Falls trail, you there's this big incline, and then you get to the falls, and then you can continue on back by the falls, and it opens up to this beautiful marshy meadow.
Yes.
If you want to see moose, that's where you need to go. Moose, again, are excellent swimmers.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So you get to see them in there, and we actually did that once where Chuck and Dad were fishing, and we went for that hike, and we saw the moose in the meadow, and it was great.
I feel like we told that. I mean both. I think we've told both stories where we have Cat on the back in the backpack
and then at the church camp.
Yeah.
So,
plenty of moosies.
Moose interaction. So that's kind of this side of Rocky Mountain. But when you go on the other side, there's some big popular towns.
Yeah.
For big popular things like skiing.
Oh yeah. And this is as we come over Trailbridge Road and down into Grand Lake. Now we're going to be leaving Grand Lake. We're going to be heading into Granby. Okay. And from Granby, that's where we're going to hit the split, as it were.
Right.
Okay. And Kris, this is where you're taking over because south of Granby, or actually, is it south of Granby?
Well, it's east of Granby.
East, but
because you're heading
east.
On 40. Yeah.
So it's east of Granby and then west of Granby.
Yep. Well,
this is all you.
We'll go east first to Winter Park. Again, you heard me say it before that I was going to say every ski area is one of my favorite ski areas. Here we go again. Winter Park. So if you're coming up from Denver, it's about 90 minutes, unless the pass is scary. But
pass is always scary.
Okay, not Trail Ridge Road,
but I can drive this one.
Okay, what I meant by scary is weather. That
it is a twisty, turny little thing, and it doesn't matter. It's scary. Go ahead.
It's much wider now than it used to be. How many times have I said that too? Back in my day. That was a goat trail. No,
probably was.
This one was always a little bit better than Wolf Creek Pass.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's interesting is that the township was founded just in 1978, believe it or not. And at just over 10,000 feet, it is the highest incorporated town in the United States. That I did not know. I did not realize that Winter Park was quite that high. But it's also home to the Winter Park Ski Resort, which is, why I'm bouncing up and down. And interestingly also is that the ski resort is owned by the city of Denver. So it's a Denver park.
It's a city park. Denver,
city park.
Yeah. Which means since I'm a Denver resident, can actually go there for super cheap.
Yeah. Well, not the ski resort because it's run by somebody else. But if you're for snowshoeing and things.
Yeah.
So in addition to the skiing, the area also has plenty of cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. And when the snow melts, there is a lot of mountain biking and fishing and hiking and concerts. And it's just a lovely place to be, winter or summer. The ski area opened in 1939. And something that I've always found fascinating skiing there is that it has the one of the largest and oldest disabled skiing programs. So if you were a skier, we'd be going up there to Winter Park. So it's the National Sports Center of the Disabled, and it was started in 1970 by a Winter Park employee operating. He had this idea for children specifically, is how it started, for getting kids up on the mountain who were disabled in some one way or another. And basically he was given a broom closet to store some supplies. And so then in my, when I went, I skied there regularly in the late 70s, early 80s. And I have skied next to blind skiers, single and double leg amputees, single and double arm amputees. I can only imagine how amazing it is now that the sports center is there, and it also focuses on more than just skiing. So it now has snowboarding and snowshoeing and kayaking and rock climbing and just all of the same activities that everyone else enjoys. Folks can enjoy up there as well. Yeah, that are adapted. And and now I think the Olympic or the
Paralympic
are the Paralympics going on right now?
No, for summer, but the summer ones, but the Paralympians for the winter sports.
Yeah.
Rehearse.
Yeah. But I mean, practice even summer, right? With the kayaking and the rock climbing and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And now there are 3 different like ski areas within Winter Park. So there's the main Winter Park, which is been around since 1939. And then a more difficult area is Mary Jane. And of course, when I was in high school, Mary Jane is where I would go. But Winter Park, I can probably still remember some of the trail names. One of the things I love a lot about Winter Park skiing is that the slopes are so long. Like you can ski forever. And so, yes, you wait in the lift line at the bottom, but once you get up to the top, you've got a long way to come down, and you can just enjoy it. And the intermediate slopes are nice and wide and lots of beautiful views. So all these views we're talking about, when you're up on the ski slopes, you get to enjoy all of that on the way down, unless you're skiing the harder slopes where you have to concentrate a little bit more on actually getting yourself down alive. So,
or fall like me.
But it's a beautiful place. One of the buildings there in Winter Park is a Colorado preserved historic building. I wouldn't be surprised if it is the original lodge itself, because it is, when you go in, you just feel like it's been around since 1939. It's beautiful, and this old wood and everything. But anyway, it's a beautiful place, originally a ski resort, but now a town has sprung up around it. The full-time population there is 1,000 people, so it's very small. But in the winter and summer with the tourists, it triples in size easily. So it's that one's a lot of fun. Then where am I heading now? West, north, to get
the other direction out of Granby.
The other direction to get to Steamboat.
So, West on 40.
West on 40. Okay. I just know from Denver it's north and west. So, so Steamboat from Denver is about 3.5 hours. So you don't get as much, like you've got to be intentional about going to Steamboat. You don't go there for your day of skiing like you can with Winter Park and all of the others along the I-70 corridor. It was originally, the town itself was originally occupied by the Utes for a long millennia, right? Until trappers began to come in the 1800s. So this is going to echo a lot of what you were saying about Grand Lake. The U.S. Army forced Ute relocation into
reservations.
Reservations, starting in 1879. The town was incorporated in 1900, so a little later than Grand Lake. And industry there is primarily mining and ranching, which are both still very strong prominent in the area, particularly the mining, but ranching is what I think of when I think up there. The railroad actually comes through the town, and that came in 1909, and it is home to several hot springs. So the story of how the town got its name,
go ahead.
Yep, is that trappers were trapping in the river, and heard this chugging sound and assumed it was a steamboat coming through the river. Although how a steamboat could go in a river that narrow,
or that shallow.
But anyway, that's what they were thinking. And when no steamboat came, they followed the sound to its source and found it was coming from one of the many hot springs in the area. And so they decided to name the town Steamboat Springs because it sounded like a steamboat. The ski area there was opened in 1963, but skiing goes back to its foundation, or to the Western settlements there, because in the early days that was really the only way to get around, was skiing, until winter accessibility became easier with the railroad and that sort of thing. In 1913, a Norwegian man named Carl Howelson moved in and introduced ski jumping. And so now the area lays claim to producing the most number of skiers to get into the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And so this is a place where they go to train, and obviously with the ski jumping, and I didn't write down all of the other things that go on there, but for many years hosts many skiing competitions.
World Cup was there a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the claims to fame, if you follow skiing, are all names that are very familiar. So I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know they came from Steamboat. Right now, the current claim to fame of who lives there, who's famous, are the two guys that wrote South Park. One of them actually grew up in Steamboat, and the other one, they live there now. I guess they built a giant mansion there that's two different addresses, but it's connected because they still like to hang out together.
I didn't realize they moved to Steamboat.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know they were in the boat.
Yeah. So Steamboat boasts of 2 ski areas, 3 Colorado state parks, and more than 150 natural springs, lakes, rivers, and trail systems that cater to a plethora of outdoor activities. The town is walkable. So if you stay in town, you can walk through the town. This is a bigger place than a lot of the places we're talking about.
Steamboat's a big town.
Yeah, it's a well-established city, really.
They have their own airport.
They do. I was just going to say, in the winter, many of the major airlines fly to the Yampa Valley Airport, which is 22 miles from town. And then there's also a couple of bus shuttle services from Denver. So the one that we know, because we see it on the highway, is called Bustang. And that one actually goes, it's a big purple bus. You see it on I-25 all the time.
That's a long, long bus ride.
It is. But at any rate, you can get there by bus.
You're not driving yourself.
If you don't want to drive yourself. And then in the winter, I don't remember what the winter one is called, but there's a winter shuttle to schlep the skiers up there, who can't afford to fly. It's so funny. I never think of Steamboat as like a Shishi Aspen-esque kind of place, because, right?
I do.
I was going to say, I do.
I do. Especially like the ski thing, but
I mean, no, it's not Aspen, but
I know, but when I was just kind of reading of the history and all of that, like not historically, but current times, that's the perception of it. And yes, it's more expensive to live there, and the average price of the house is around $1 million, but that's probably it's not much higher than what the average housing is in Denver these days, to be quite frank. But
the average is just under about 600,000.
Yeah.
So
but
my best friend grew up there.
Okay.
And so
the deals.
And his family was totally normal. They were all school teachers. So yes, there is a normal, regular folk population in there. But yeah, there are a lot of folk who go up there that are money.
Well, and so our cat volunteers at the Rocky Mountain Raptor Society, and actually she's doing an internship there, but she was just talking about when her internship ends in the next few weeks that she wants to continue to volunteer there because she loves what she does. But they just did a demonstration. Of course, it's all education and demonstrations, and they did a demonstration at one of the festivals going on this summer up in Steamboat. And a generous donor gave them use of a condo, and she was just floored. She's like calling me and showing us, walking through and showing us this video, because it is no condo, right? It was like 10 bedrooms and and apparently Manning stayed there.
Yeah.
And so she was like, even I've heard of this football player.
Okay.
And so, but anyway, it had a gorgeous view, and then there's the springs there are hot springs that you can visit and all of that stuff, just like in many other towns that end in the word springs. So after a hard day of skiing, you can relax in a hot springs.
Yes,
and
good.
And I'll tell you, there's nothing better than being in a hot springs and then you jump out like in the snow. So it's snowing all around you and yet you're in this warm, luxurious thing.
And then you have to run to the house because it's freezing
but
cold.
It's still...
I married a polar bear.
You kind of did.
Yeah. I married a polar bear.
Anyway, I love it.
I mean, I've done that. I've gone in Pagosa
and you like
for New Year's, and you run from place to place. And
or you walk barefoot through the snow
because you've been in 150-degree water,
right?
And when you get out, even though the air temperature is 2, you're like,
yeah,
and you're like
steam is coming off of you,
billowing off of you.
Like, we're all right. We can walk to the next pool.
That's right. Who needs shoes? And like the whole point is you get super cold, like you're walking to the first hot springs,
but then
in your bathing suit and you're freezing, and then you get in and you're like,
you're fine.
And then we were safe.
So some of the little towns we were talking about earlier, Kremling,
yes,
Craig, Hayden, those are kind of, well, not Kremling, but Craig and Hayden in particular are suburbs of Steamboat.
Yes.
So they
they do
surround. Yeah.
Okay.
Hayden is about 20 minutes outside of Steamboat.
Yeah, they're not
that far. So those are they would be considered suburbs of that.
But they're on that US 40.
Yeah. And it's definitely ranch and farm country in that valley.
Right.
For sure. So
like I said,
great place to drop into the river.
Every time we go to National Western and we walk the stalls down there.
Oh yeah, you see
those
I
places.
see those town names every time.
Yeah, Kremling, Craig. Although I think of Craig as mining, but
it's coal down there over there as well.
Coal mining.
Yeah. Coal, oil shale again.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that sort of leads into why.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're gonna talk about a little bit more about hot springs and such, because I'm gonna talk a little bit about that because geology, and then we're gonna talk about dinosaurs. Yes, we are. Okay. Anyway, that area is chock full of fun things about geology. Let's see here. We're going to talk about Hot Sulphur Springs first. Hot Sulphur Springs, which is the county seat of Grand County, was a winter campground for Native Americans for the longest time. And then about in 1840, William Byers, founder of the Rocky Mountain News, was the first European to document the springs. Actually document that they were hot springs there. But the Native Americans have been using it for medicinal purposes for centuries. Let's see. The town was established in 1860, making it the oldest town in the county. It was originally named Saratoga West. I'm not even sure what that means.
Saratoga Springs, New York, because they're all about the springs, and that's the east. So
there we are.
Yeah, that's
there.
What it
there's
is.
Your connection.
Mm-hmm.
There's your connection. Okay. It was also sometimes called Warm Spring for obvious reasons, because
they're not hot.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean. The overstatement was not something that they were really in. Yeah, they were not in.
Subtle.
Yeah, they were not into it. So, let's see. When Grand County was formed, Hot Sulphur Springs was the first county seat from 1874 to 1882. After which it moved to Grand Lake for a time, and then all of a sudden it moved back over in 1888. Something political happened, and there were. If you do the historical research, there was always these little bitty feuds going on in that area, with the area in Winter Park, with Fraser, with Granby.
It's all these mountain people.
Yeah, with Grand Lake, with it was, and Hot Sulphur Springs. it got weird. Okay, it just got weird sometimes.
Very territorial.
I'm a flatlander, so I can say that.
Well,
mountain people.
Yeah. Anyway, again, this is something I do want to talk about, is that yes, there are little resorts and commercial resorts in Hot Sulphur Springs, but again, this area, due to the fact that the volcanism in Colorado and in this area of the Rocky Mountains, there are backcountry hot springs, and the locals call them hippie dips. Okay?
For obvious reasons.
Be very careful. I will reiterate. There are so many of these backcountry springs that are not regulated by pH level or regulated by temperature.
Yeah,
right.
Those things
You can roast yourself or you can dissolve yourself.
Or both. And no one will ever know because you just go away.
Exactly. Yeah, you disintegrate into the bottom of this spring and no one will ever know that you were there. So please be careful. Please, please, please be careful. Yes, go and enjoy the backcountry. I think it's something that everybody should, you know.
But on these places, definitely stay on the marked trails.
Yeah. And
you don't want to be stumbling into a hot springs accidentally after dark.
And that's something that if you know anything about the Yellowstone area, especially around the geothermals there, the ground's very thin.
Yeah.
Very, very thin. You could break through it. And below that very thin ground is more hot boiling water. So please be careful. Anyway, that's about all I'm going to say about that because we reiterated that. Now we're going to be moving past everything. No, not north. Still west on 40. And we're going to hit the Colorado border. And the first town that we're going to hit before we cross into Utah is Dinosaur National Monument.
Yay.
Dinosaur is, in my mind, one of the more fun places to go because, yes, dinosaurs. Also, geology. And the third winner on that, anthropology. The reason is this is an area that was known for the Fremont people who lived there in Dinosaur National Monument from about the 14th century or before the 14th century. There's archaeological evidence dating from about 200 to 1300. So they had been there for a very long time ago. Archaeologists first studied the name of Fremont culture along the Fremont River in south central Utah and have since traced it through much of Green and Colorado drainages. So the evidence of those people being along that run of water.
The whole Colorado River watershed in the north.
Exactly. They left evidence of their presence in the form of petroglyphs and pictographs. And let's see, of human and animal figures, abstract designs. The human figures typically have trapezoidal bodies, elaborate decorations that suggested headdresses, earrings, necklaces, or shields that they would carry. The animal figures include bighorn sheep, birds, snakes, lizards, and sometimes some of the other petroglyphs are just purely geometric abstract designs, such as circles, spirals. Spirals are important. Spirals are almost a universal thing.
They really are.
With ancient people. You can find them even in Ireland.
Oh, yes.
So, let's see. And various combinations of lines and all that. Let's see. Many designs in the monument are accessible for close viewing along the 4 trails in Utah, one of which is near the Visitors Center and the 5th Trail in Colorado. So let's see, the early scientific explorations in Dinosaur National Monument. The dinosaur fossil beds were discovered in 1909 by Earl Douglas, a paleontologist who was working for the Carnegie Museum of Natural History. Let's see, he and his crew excavated thousands of fossils and shipped them back over to the museum in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for study and display. Let's see, President Woodrow Wilson, we talked about him earlier, big mover and shaker as far as naturalists go, proclaimed the dinosaur beds as Dinosaur National Monument in 1915. The monument boundaries were expanded in 1938 from the original 80 acres, just 80 acres, and they expanded that to 844,000 acres, both in Utah and Colorado, encompassing the river canyons of the Green and Yampa rivers. So there's a lot there to look at. The Wall of Bones, which is what's most famous in Dinosaur, is located in the Dinosaur Quarry building in the park, and it consists of a steeply stilted 67 degree from horizontal rock layer, which contains thousands of dinosaur fossils. The preserved section is only a portion of what was originally presented when Douglas made his first discovery. When work ceased in 1922, a portion of the quarry was left for future development. The work began as part of President Franklin Roosevelt's Civil Works Administration, which provided employment during the Depression, and under the Transient Relief Service, and later the Works Progress Administration. So Roosevelt was trying to get jobs, and that's where we got it.
And the Civilian Conservation Corps also worked in Rocky Mountain National Park big time too during that same time.
Exactly. Let's see, where was I? This work included the constructing of a road to the quarry, removal of overburden covering the bone-bearing strata, and the building of a small temporary museum. World War II interrupted all of that. But then the work resumed again in 1951. The building of a small metal building over the east portion of the quarry to test whether bone was abundant enough to warrant a larger, more permanent building. This permanent building was erected in the mid-1950s as part of the National Park Service Mission 66 plan. So the United States had an Order 66. Put Palpatine here.
Execute Order 66.
Anyway, the architectural design was highly controversial for its ultra-modern use of glass, steel, and concrete ramp that spiraled around a cylindrical office tower. The building opened at the dedication ceremony on June 1st, 1958. The design had 2 levels and abundant natural light so that visitors could watch technicians remove fossils.
Which you and I have.
Yes, we have. It was one of the cooler things that I had ever seen, is seeing that many fossils in one area.
And that wall is steep.
Yes,
that you were talking about. I mean, that's
67 from vertical.
Up. It's
67 degrees from horizontal. So it's
big. It's a big wall of bones.
Yeah. It's very cool. Anyway, in July 2006, the Quarry Visitor Center was closed due to construction problems that since 1958 had plagued the building because it had been built on unstable clay.
Oh, we don't know anything about that.
No, bentonite.
Yes.
Bentonite is a clay that is formed from volcanic ash. Yeah, anyway.
And it rises like a cake.
Yes, it does.
And then it falls like a cake.
Yes, it does. It creates voids in places that you never think anything would be. But anyway, let's see, where was I? The decision was made to build a new facility elsewhere in the monument to house a visitor center and administrative functions, making it easier to resolve the structural problems the quarry building, while still remaining a portion of the historic Mission 66 era exhibit hall. It was announced in April 2009 that Dinosaur National Monument would receive $13.1 million to refurbish, reopen the gallery as part of the Obama administration, and $750 billion stimulus plan. I was actually a very tiny part of that through the consultation company that I worked for during that time. I was a very small part of that. But yeah, I do remember the dinosaur project at work. So that was kind of fun. I wish that I had been more part of it. I wish I had been able to work on that more, but that work got sent somewhere to another team.
Yeah.
So let's see. The Park Service successfully rebuilt the quarry exhibit hall, supporting its weight on 70-foot steel micropile columns. Wow, that extended to the bedrock below the unstable clay. So basically they drilled holes and shoved these things down into the ground. And
well, back to your cake analogy.
Yeah.
That's why you put dowels in the cake.
That's right.
So it doesn't fall. So.
Exactly. Exactly. And the dinosaur quarry was reopened in 2011, which it makes me very happy. So just so you have a general idea, contains thousands of fossils of not only dinosaurs, but plants, mollusks, reptiles as well. The several dinosaurs that they have already discovered are Brachiosaurus, Diplodocus, Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, and several others that I can't pronounce. So there they are. And that's my story about dinosaurs.
And Stegosaur is the Colorado national dinosaur.
Yes, it is.
We did do that as a vacation one year. We drove it. It's one of the handful of road trip vacations that we took when we were little. And so we've driven it.
Yes, and
we stayed in Vernal, Utah.
Vernal, that's right. It was Vernal that we stayed in.
Vernal, Utah. It was right across the border because it was cheaper to stay in Utah than it was to stay in Colorado.
Exactly.
And we popped over the border, stayed in Vernal, Utah at the Vernal Hotel.
Yep.
And then did the Dinosaur National Monument and then drove home.
Right.
Quick weekend. But
that was one of the I loved that.
I know.
Thing.
It was your thing. I was like, I just want to be in the pool.
Well, yeah, we spent a lot of time in the pool.
It was hot.
It was
blazes hot. So yes, we spent a lot of time in the pool.
It was unreal hot. I mean, this was like Vegas hot.
And it is very memorable. That wall was tall and just bones everywhere.
How old were you?
I was 8.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So you were like 13.
Yeah. Yeah, because Grandma Todd was with us.
Yes.
Grandma Hammonds, sorry.
Was she?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She was with us. She went on that trip with us.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was a long ride.
It was a long ride.
All the way through Colorado. That was a long ride.
But they let you, at that time too, they let you, as kids, go and kind of use the pick and uncover the bones and try that. And it was really, So there's very memorable things to do.
Oh yeah. And I loved it because honestly, I mean, there were still little tiny lizards out on the trails outside that you would just jump up on the rock, see you, do their little dance of
it's super hot.
It's super hot. Alternating leg feet on the rock.
Push-ups because you're not gonna mess with me.
Yeah. The bob. The bob. I learned the bob from the lizards.
Don't mess with me.
Anyway,
and they're little fence lizards.
Yeah, they were great. Anyway, that's Northwestern Colorado.
Yeah,
it is.
In as briefly as we could do it in an hour and 20.
And the things that we've done. I mean, again, we kind of have not ventured. I mean, we go to Estes all the time, so that's why we spent most of our time talking about it.
Yeah,
I've spent a lot of time in Winter Park.
Yeah,
I only went to Steamboat once, and that's where I got the worst sunburn of my life on my lip. So wear your sunscreen.
Oh, indeed, indeed, wear the sunscreen.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all of it's just so breathtaking and so worth going.
It is, and this again, we're going to admonish you. Please get out, come to Colorado and see this stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. We got a great backyard, and we want you to see it. You know,
takes you a while to get there, and sometimes, but the travel is worth it.
It is.
Oh, indeed. And
the journey is just as important as the destination.
Oh,
it's so beautiful.
I almost forgot. Aspens are in season.
Oh,
we're getting to the time to turn.
Yeah,
so.
No, they're turning now.
Yeah,
they're turning now.
It starts at this top of the state and works its way down. So
yeah,
got plenty of time to check it out.
So yeah, Golden Shot Hills.
Beautiful.
All through Colorado. It's
good stuff.
Anyway, so next in 2 weeks, we're going to do this again. But this time we're going to go on the I-70 corridor. Okay. We're going to go all the way again from
Denver.
Golden, from Denver area. Well, or should we do Idaho Springs and then west?
Let's just go.
Okay, fine. We'll do the whole thing. From Denver to the Utah border. So thank you very much for joining us, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much for hitting that like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, because otherwise you'll never find out when something new comes up if you don't hit that notification button. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Alyce.
Bye.
Thank you, Kris.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Come and visit us.